And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We apologize for the delay in the show this morning. Your boy had a morning meeting today, very important, very wonderful meeting, and I made it early. And as I always do, we end up talking a little bit longer. So we gave you a 4-hour show plus on Monday. We gave you over 2 on Tuesday, over 3 yesterday. And we'll make sure we make up the time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Sales and service. They're open Monday through Saturday. Go and visit them today. Let them know the DT sent you. And a sneak peek of their inventory of new and used vehicles is available at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Appreciate you being here. And, of course, Papa Joe's going to be coming up in just a moment with talk on the NFL title game between the Seahawks and the Patriots, and the college football playoff looks like it's the same, but there's new rules that have potentially totally changed it. And does this make it fair or less fair? What does this mean for the future of the college football playoff? We'll discuss it, and Dave Pasiak will join us here in the second hour to round out the show with NBA Trade Talk. So, with that being said, let's jump into the Player of the Week, proudly presented exclusively by Myers Creek, with 2 locations on 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York, in the Syracuse Inner Harbor, and on the countryside on 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia. The Player of the Week, Central and Upstate New York. We have a double dose today. Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, proudly presented by Myers Creek. The first to be honored this week, Carter Mathewson of West Genesee Hockey. Their 4-0 victory over Watertown IHC. There was 4 shots attempted on, or pardon me, there was 8 shots attempted on his goal. I only had half put up here. I don't know why I did that. So I think it's because of the 4-0 victory. So there were 8 shots that came his way. He saved every single one of them. Carter Mathewson, 4-0 victory, did not allow a single point. 8 shots against, 8 saves. And for the entire season up to this point with West Genesee Hockey, Carter Mathewson has been shot on 190 times, and he has saved 178 of them. He's allowed only 12 goals scored against him in 190 shot attempts. This man is insane, incredible, and I'm proud to know this West Genesee boys ice hockey team and have covered them for many years and have sat with them just a few weeks back. Carter Mathewson, Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, for not only the victory over Watertown IHC with 8 shots against and 8 saves, but a look at him overall this season with 178 saves in 190 shots. Shout out to you, Carter Mathewson, Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, proudly presented by Myers Creek. Head to Myers Creek today on 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia, and of course, as well as the Syracuse Inner Harbor on 720 Van Rensselaer Street. My second honoree of the Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, coming to you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I am happy to honor our next person, who is from the Homer Blue Pride, and that is Tyler Seymour. Tyler Seymour of Homer Boys Bowling helped his team to a 7-0 victory over Christian Brothers Academy, where he bowled a 264. And for those of you that don't know, the highest you can bowl in a game is 300. And he was 36 pins away. 264 in that victory. And by the way, that 264 that he had in one of his sets, he bowled 267 less than a week ago. So his two best scores of the entire 2025-26 season have come less than a week apart, with him getting a 264 in one of his sets against CBA, and less than a week ago having 267. Tyler Seymour is getting closer and closer to hitting all 300 pins and knocking them all down. And he had the 264 game and the 267 as we honor him as this week's Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, proudly presented by Myers Creek. Shout out to Tyler Seymour and Homer Boys Bowling. God bless to you all as you step forward, and make sure you head to Myers Creek in those steps forward on 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia, as well as 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, let's hop into our conversation with Papa Joe here with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We're always happy to have PJ on the show here with us, where sports meets that thing called life. He's been patient with us this morning to get on the broadcast, as like I said, I had a morning meeting that ran later than anticipated, but for good reasons. So it was a positive meeting. So, even though it ran late, it was for all good reasons. The company was definitely a wonderful company to have. So with that being said, P to the Jizzle, J. Edgar Twizzle. Some people know him as the man that was smarter than Bill Belichick and just had more couth and more better decision-making than Jerry Jones himself. He knows when it comes to horse racing as well as golf. He knows that baseball world and the football world. But if you ask Papa Joe, his favorite sport of all time, well, that's basketball, and he watches the NBA cover to cover. PJ, how we doing today?
Oh, yeah, right. Right. Unless it's a Joker. I'll be watching a Joker, but no, I doubt it. But anyway, Bill Belichick's got a 24-year-old girlfriend. I don't have that. I got MT at 274. So what the hell?
Well, I will say this to you, PJ. Mary ages like fine wine, and you got one of the most beautiful human beings, and more importantly, one of the most beautiful souls. I don't know if they make many like MT in this world, and you got one of like 8 of them that's probably here.
Well, that's true. I mean, all her sisters are just as beautiful as she is. If you ever get a chance to see them all, they all look alike. They're all beautiful and they're smart. So, unfortunately, her brother died a couple of weeks ago, but now the girls are left by themselves, which is cool.
Yeah, and PJ, I know that we honor him in heaven and, pray the best for the family and everybody who, obviously was close to Mary's brother and continues to be close to him. So with that being said, as we hop into just a few days away, we are 3 days, almost exactly 72 hours, a few hours from now, will be 72 hours from the NFL title game. And that game is going to be played between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. The Seattle Seahawks are led by Sam Darnold, who was left for dead in New Jersey, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, as a member of the Jets. And then you have Drake May, who some people were high on, and then after last season were like, is he that good? So you got 2 underdog teams. People didn't anticipate Seattle would be the number 1 team in the NFC. Some people probably didn't even think they'd make the playoffs. And then with the New England Patriots, it was the roll of the dice. After Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they weren't given a lot of hope. So whoever wins this championship game in the NFL is an underdog in a lot of ways. What are your thoughts on that? That whoever we see hoist the title is not probably the team that a lot of people thought would do it.
I want to say that after reading everything and listening to pundits for a couple of weeks or 10 days, it appears to me that the side that they're favoring is the Seahawks. And the more I get into the betting aspect of it, it's quite true that the Seahawks, frankly, I think they'll be an overwhelming favorite come kickoff time. Right now, they're 4.5 or 5 point favorite. I look for them to go up maybe to 7, 7.5, 8 points. Donald has proved himself. There's no reason why anyone should have doubted this guy if you'd watched him over the years. He's a cool character. I think he overwhelms Mr. Drake May, who in his own right is quite sensational. But Drake is not a rookie, but he's a second-year guy. He's under the spotlight, even though he's got one of the better coaches, Mike Vrabel. But Mike Vrabel is a defensive guy. So is Mike McDonald's a defensive guy, which you don't see that too much these days because most of the high flyers that we are hiring are offensive-minded guys. Now, Vrabel is smart enough to keep Josh McDaniel, who frankly should be a coach. I don't know if he wants to be anymore because he had a bad experience there with Denver. But I think they'll play well. I think, but Seattle's defense is just awesome. Their defensive line is, I think, second. They're in the top three in the NFL. And I look for the quarterbacks just to smother Stephon Diggs and his boys. I don't think this will be a rout, but I think Seattle will handle New England quite handily. My opinion now.
Well, I mean, and the thing about this is the fact that, I believe that the Seattle team can get into the 30s. And I don't know if we're going to see, if they did, it would be more atypical that we would see this team get, when it comes to the Patriots, get into the 30s. So, I mean, in my head, I keep seeing the score being 30-17. I can see the Patriots getting to almost 20, but I can see the Seahawks just pouring it on. They could have 20 points in the first quarter. So, I mean, it depends on who shows up. Listen, you never bet against the Patriots. I think people learn that. But at the same time, you have a Seahawks team that has Cooper Kupp, Kenneth Walker III, as well as Rashid Shaheed that they brought in before the trade deadline. And, of course, you have this guy Jackson Smith and Jigba. And keep in mind that there's always a player or two in the NFL title game that ends up playing really well that wasn't on your bingo board. So that could be a guy like Jake Bobo. It could be a guy like A.J. Barner from the Seattle Seahawks. And then when it comes to the New England Patriots, it's like, yeah, there's some guys you know on the Patriots. Travion Henderson, who I thought was good enough to draft in fantasy football this year. He's a guy that I think, I liked what I saw with him in the work that he had done when he was fighting for and won the College Football Playoff National Championship. So I have a lot of respect for the work that he did. And obviously I was on site on location watching that happen. So, Travion Henderson doing what he's done with the Patriots, I'm excited for him, but I believe that he could do some good things. Then, you look at this team and you look at Stephon Diggs being there, but there's some guys that you hope are healthy. Mac Hollins, he was a Buffalo Bill recently. Now he's a Patriot. Kayshon Boutte, if he gets through that hamstring injury, he could be another name that shows up that you don't expect as a wide receiver getting in the end zone. Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams. There's a lot of talent. By the way, if the Patriots were to win the NFL title game, former Syracuse quarterback and card-carrying Italian Tommy DeVito would have a ring. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on, but I want people to pay attention that even though you're looking at the names, you should also be looking at the names you don't know, because there's always somebody that steps up in the championship game that ends up having a really good game that you didn't anticipate. And I'm looking at some of those offensive players, and the Jake Bobos and the A.J. Barners, they come to mind, and the Kayshon Boutte and whatnot. I also look to those. Now, when you look at Seattle and you look at their defense has been a team that's the defense people are talking about on one side in the NFC, giving credit to, but also in the AFC, you give credit to the defense that comes from the New England Patriots. Now, some of this is overshadowed with people talking about how well the Houston Texans were doing and coming into the playoffs on a winning streak. And obviously Jacksonville had a really strong defense, and the battle of their defense and Denver's defense, and Jacksonville scores 34 on the road at Denver, beats them 34-20. So there's something to be said about that. And what if they played each other instead of Jacksonville playing the Buffalo Bills? What would that have looked like if that had happened the second time around? That's something we don't get to see, but it is a question that we have. The Patriots this season, you look at how many points they've allowed. 20, 27, 21, 13, 20, 19, 13, 13, 23, 23, 14, 20, 15, 35 against the Bills in a loss, 24, 10, and 10. So more often than not, they're keeping you around 20, and in a bunch of these games, they're keeping you in the teens. In the playoffs against the Chargers, they allowed the Chargers 3 points, and they scored 16. Against the Texans, they allowed 16. They scored 28. Against the Broncos, they allowed 7 to a backup quarterback in bad weather, cold conditions, and snow. They allowed 7, and they scored 10. So we know that the Patriots' defense can keep you low, and they can hold you down and make you try to beat them in a game where a lot of points are not scored. So that's something to look to. But when we look at Seattle's defense and what they've done, in the past they were called the Legion of Boom. Now some people might call them the Legion of Boom Part 2. But this is how many points they allowed this season. 17, 17, 13, 20, 38 in a loss to the Bucs, 12, 19, 14, 22, 21, 24, 0, 9, 16, 37 in a 1-point win over the Rams, 10, 3, and in the playoffs, they allowed 6 points to the Niners, scored 46, allowed 27 to the Rams, scored 31. So as good as you heard those numbers for New England, Seattle's numbers against teams even better, and they're keeping you in the teens even more. So PJ, what are your thoughts on the offense and the defense of these two squads?
Well, that's a good question. I suppose people are going to compare that New England's defense is just as good as Seattle's, but it's not, despite Mike Vrabel's being there. I think that Seattle probably will mix up with cover 6 or cover 2 to make Drake May make some mistakes. And look he's just a kid. He's only 23 years old. He's been thrust into the spotlight, even though he's come from a high-profile program like North Carolina. But then they don't play that well late anymore anyway, before the big tuna got there.
Yeah.
I still think that Seattle's defense is going to control the line of scrimmage. And if you've heard me over the years, I like to see that. I like to see who's going to control both the offensive and defensive line of scrimmages. That's what I measure on. And you can see it right away after the first 3 or 4 minutes, first couple of drives. If you can see Seattle start to penetrate, start making the kid make some errors, maybe sack him or rush him or hit him, it'd be something to look at. Plus, May has a bad shoulder. Now, they're going to say he's okay. He's going to say he's okay. They shoot him up, and he's probably going to be okay. But will he be able to make that 20-yard dart down the field instead of hanging it up? He's got to throw the ball quick. He's got to throw it fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if his shoulder is going to heal up lightweight. And I think the Seattle knows that, so they're going to put more pressure on him. Maybe blitz him a little bit, corner blitz or linebacker blitz. Seattle's loaded. I mean, I didn't really look at Seattle too much over the season, mainly because we stay here in the East Coast and watch our people, especially the Jags. But Seattle is for real. I think Mike McDonald is probably one of the sharpest coaches now in the NFL. It's going to be a matchup between Mike McDonald and his defense and what they can do against, I would say, a rookie quarterback and maybe a porous line. I think that Seattle's got an emphasis on the running play with Kenneth Walker. He's a beast. Of course, they lost one of their running back, Charbonnet, with a knee injury. I think that New England could probably hang with him for a while, but over the course of a game, even despite a ridiculous 30-minute halftime show, which I tell you I will not watch, Daniel.
Yeah.
I will not watch the halftime show. And when they come back out, maybe we'll see what happens. So it's frankly, it's in New England's court because Seattle's going to score, and they're not going to give up a lot of points. They're not going to give up a lot of yards. So we'll be able to see that after the first couple lines of scrimmage, and we'll go from there after the halftime show. You gonna watch the halftime show?
So, I mean, for me, so there. The funny thing is, I predicted the halftime show. So I wrote on a piece of paper a year ago, about a year ago, right after the last championship game for the NFL. I said, "Where's it going to be next year?" And they said, "California." I said, "All right, California, Hispanic. Think about Hispanic people. Think about who's in pop culture." I wrote it on this sheet of paper and I said, "This is my prediction for who they're going to have." And that prediction came true.
Oh my goodness!
So I wrote that it was going to be Bad Bunny. I will be paying attention to both. I want to see both. I want to see what it's like. Listen, the NFL halftime show has been kind of not great for the title game in a bunch of years. I was spoiled growing up. I got to see a lot of really good, moments. I got to see. I like the mashups. I like when they take somebody from like country, pop culture, rap, put everybody together. When you have, what was it, Aerosmith, Britney Spears, and NSYNC, and they all came together. That was cool. Maroon 5. I'm not. I like Maroon 5, but I'm not going to stare at a guy who keeps taking his shirt off and dancing around. So when Adam Levine took his shirt off, I went and did something else. But like at the same time, I will say that there's a lot of talent. And I know people are going to say whatever they're going to say because these women are beautiful. But Shakira and Jennifer Lopez, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I watched it because they're beautiful. And they'll say, yeah, okay, Dan, whatever. Well, then you don't know what type of guy I am. These women are in their 50s. They're outrageously talented. They dance like they're 18. Shakira did 3 things that day. She danced, she sang, and she played instruments. I think she played multiple instruments. So that was one of my favorite shows of recent time because they're multi-talented. J-Lo and Shakira, 2 of the best dancers out there. They sing well. They're very, very talented. J-Lo's had an incredible career as an actress, and Shakira can do a million things at once. So I like that show. Honestly, you asked me, like, who's had the last 5 to 10 years, and I could literally say to you, like, I don't remember half of them, but will I be watching Turning Points? Yeah, I mean, I like country music. I feel terrible for the Kirk family, and I'll tell people this until my dying day and beyond that. If you applaud the death of a human being, I will pray for your soul.
All right, answer me this question.
Yeah.
Who in the hell is Bad Bunny? What the hell is that?
See, here's the thing, PJ. If you don't know Bad Bunny, you don't know Good Rabbit. But I mean, listen, I know Bad Bunny because he did a song.
You think I'm gonna listen to that junk?
Well, he did a song with Drake, and I like Drake, so I know that song. But I don't know a lot about Bad Bunny, and they choose who they choose. It's now become, whatever city you're in, whatever state you're in, some states and some cities in America try to be their own island, pretend like they're not part of the United States of America. California is a good example of that. So they're going to do what they want to do. And, when it's in Florida, it'll be a certain way and so on and so forth. But I think that, listen, a country divided is a country easily controlled. A country divided is a country that can easily be manipulated, and a house divided upon itself cannot stand. So do I think there should be 2 halftime shows? No. But they're totally different. I'm going to watch them both, and I just would love it if people started to get together and love each other and appreciate each other. I will say this. My new Sunday at Carvel DeWitt, which is getting unveiled on Friday the 13th, my grandpa's lucky day, on February 13th, 2013 of this year, that Sunday has a name and a meaning behind it that's about making this country one again and not so divided. So I spent a lot of time coming up with the name of my Sunday, what it is, what it's about, and anybody that knows me knows that I put meaning into everything I do. So even if the halftime show doesn't do it, my Sunday is going to talk about this country being more connected again.
Well, I'll tell you, half of the nation won't be looking at that junk or listening to that junk, Daniel. And I'm going to be sitting here. I'm going to mute it, and I'm going to do my work on the computer. And when halftime's over, I'll watch the ball game. So good luck watching your bad bunny. And I will. Mary T, she's pissed at me. She said, Joe, she says, it's just something different. I said,
Yeah.
Dad, Mary, am I going to listen to a Puerto Rican rap guy? Are you kidding me? No, I'm not going to do that. Anyway,
Well, and
you do your thing. I'll do my thing. My generation won't tolerate it, but we're in the minority now anyway. So what the hell?
Well, it's what people like. It's what people like. You know, when Britney Spears was up there, people are like, I don't want to listen to this. I don't listen to Britney Spears. So they walked out of the room. So, I mean, it's you know, that people listen to what they want to listen to. They put themselves around what they want to put themselves around. And that's just how it is. And so if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't. And that's it. You know, Kendrick Lamar, I liked Kendrick Lamar last year. My dad was like, what, you know, what the hell is this? I don't listen to this. You know,
That's
my mom kind of, you know, give or take, probably wasn't even paying attention, was on her phone or something. And, you know, but there's certain stuff I like about Kendrick Lamar. I think he's I think he's a very talented rapper. I really do. I think he's a talented person in the music industry in general. But there's other ones where take it or leave it. You know, I was not a fan of a bunch. Like my favorite shows happened when I was a kid, when I was in high school. Again, because it was always about who's going to be the special guest appearance, who is going to be the mashup, who are they going to bring on with them. And a lot of these recent ones, they didn't. Kendrick Lamar didn't. Rihanna didn't. So, you know, it kind of falls to me flat a little bit because I feel like that's when you should collaborate, is when you're on such a massive stage that you're probably never going to be on again and so few people get to do. But listen, I'm looking at the game. I'm looking at the Seahawks. I'm looking at the Patriots. I respect them both. I think they've both done a good job to get to where they've gotten to, obviously. But I think that this is Seattle's game to lose. I never count out the Patriots. But, I mean, I don't see the Patriots scoring in the 30s, and that's Seattle's world.
Ain't going to happen.
So if you had to make a pick, PJ, what would be your score?
Well, I'm going to say it's going to be a defense struggle, but I think Donald is a much better quarterback than anyone gave him credit for. You know, one thing that boggles my mind is how these NFL teams and their gurus, how they analyze how quarterbacks come through the system. So many times they lay eggs, and so many times they miss a guy like Sam Darnold. They miss a guy like Justin Fields, who hasn't been given a chance.
Yeah.
I don't like his style of play, but that doesn't mean he's not an athlete. I mean, I think that if he's under a good coach, Justin Fields can bloom. Sam Darnold is just a smart guy. He knew exactly what he was doing at Minnesota, and he knew what he was going to do when he got to Seattle. Geno Smith wasn't going to last at Seattle, being 36 years old. So they were smart. Mike Patel said, this kid's a winner. I'm going to bring him in. And they did. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that are sitting there in the second, third strings that can play for a lot of teams. Mac Jones is one of them. You know, he deserves a shot. There's so many, I don't remember them right now, but there's a lot of second string quarterbacks out there that could be playing first string. So if someone's hurt, you know, frankly, I don't know who the backup is for either one of these teams. I don't know who the backup is for Seattle or New England.
Yeah, New England's backup, Josh Dobbs, who spent a lot of years with the Steelers, went to Jacksonville for a cup of coffee and found his way back to the Steelers and is now on the Patriots. And then when it comes to, and then Tommy DeVito, who was at Syracuse in Illinois before going to the New England Patriots after being a starter for the New York Giants before they brought in Jackson Dart. And then for the Seattle Seahawks, their backup quarterback in Seattle is Drew Lock, who was a former pick by the Denver Broncos. He was part of the trade for Russell Wilson that sent Wilson from the Seahawks to the Broncos, and the backup from Drew Lock, the third string, is Jalen Milroe. and Jalen Milroe was the starting quarterback at Alabama. So that's what the backups look like for these teams, PJ. So I know you said it's going to be a defensive struggle. Give me the winner. Give me the score.
I think you're looking at something like 21-13.
Which is funny that you say that because 21's my favorite number. 13's Pop Cavino's number. And the reason why I'm releasing my Sunday on 2/13 is because it's the blending of our two numbers I see all the time. So PJ says 21-13 Seattle. I'm going to say 30-17 Seattle because that's been the score that's been in my head this whole time. I may, let me think. So 30, I got to put this in my head. So if I give them 3 touchdowns and then 2 field goals, so 3 touchdowns, 21, 2 field goals is going to put me at 27. So that score doesn't really make sense if I went there. Let me say, yeah, that makes sense. 30-17. Yeah, I'll say 30-17 because that's the number I've seen all week in my head. So 30-17 Seattle. We're both picking the Seahawks. We'll take a quick step aside for a fast break. When PJ and I come back, we will bring you our thoughts on the college football playoff and what I'm calling the Notre Dame rule.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others is really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in and Chick-fil-A restaurants. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Happy to be here with you, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're hanging out with Papa Joe here on the broadcast, and we're taking a look at the college football playoff. To those of you that are not paying attention beyond the amount of teams, you haven't seen the changes. The college football playoff is at 12, once again. They did agree, and I spoke with the executive director of the CFP, and just a few days before their decision came to fruition, that being Rich Clark, and he said, we're either going to stay at 12, go to 16, or go to 24. Well, they decided to stay at 12 for this upcoming year, which I just believe buys them time. They know the system works. They know the 12 has been good. I think it's been fantastic. I've been on site for it. I've experienced it firsthand, thanks to God and thanks to the CFP and the bowl system and everybody involved that's given me the opportunity to be there, and to hard work, dedication, and determination, and a whole lot of faith. So being there has been amazing. I think it works. I see the value of 24 if they're going to still care about conference championships and still have representation from the entire FBS. So they stay at 12 just for this year, for now, until they can figure things out. I just think it buys them time. But they've made 2 rule changes that people need to understand. For the 2026-27 season, it is not 5 highest-ranked conference champions plus 7 at-large. It is the 4 autonomy group champions, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, ACC, in no specific order. But they get in no matter what. So we're not taking the 5 highest-ranked conference champions of the 10 conferences, taking half of the nation's conference champions in the FBS. We're not doing that sheerly that way. We're taking the autonomy group, protecting them, and taking 1 champion from the group of or non-autonomy conferences, which are the Pac-12, the American, the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, the MAC, and Conference USA. They're only going to get 1. Then there's going to be 7 at-large still, but now there's a Notre Dame rule. All Notre Dame has to do is be liked enough. As long as they're ranked in the college football playoffs final rankings in the top 12, they get in. Doesn't matter if there's conference champions. Doesn't matter if somebody's better. Doesn't matter if somebody has a better record. All that matters is that if Notre Dame is ranked in the top 12 at the end of the season by the CFP, they're in no matter what. So now we have a school that gets promoted subjectively. We have 4 conference champions that get in regardless of record. And then we have very little representation for non-autonomy conferences. And I don't know if this speaks fairness at all. PJ, your thoughts?
Daniel, the more you think about it and more you analyze it, it's still based on revenue. Are you telling me, they're telling us that the 12 teams is okay for next year and they're going to increase it? Why would you want to water down the championship and have 24 teams when only 4 teams probably are willing or are eligible to win a damn thing? Oh, it's only for revenue. It's awful. I wasn't in favor of the 12 teams to begin with. I guess I'm old-fashioned about that. I don't want to see it go to 16. I sure as hell don't want to see it go to 24. So if they think that they can make it fair, more power to them. But if you look between the lines, it's all based on revenue. You know how much a 30-second commercial in the Super Bowl is going to cost? $8 million. Now, we throw that into this equation we were just talking about. Those commercials are not going to be $8 million for the CF college football player, but it'll be substantial. And the teams are going to share on it. But am I going to watch 24 teams? Hell no, I'm not going to watch 24 teams. I'll watch 4 or 8, but I'm not going to watch 24 teams. So, when you get down to it and you read between the lines, you're going to find that it's all based on revenue.
But here's a question. Changing the rule that they're not taking the 5 highest ranked conference champions, they're just going to take the 4 autonomy group champions plus 1 champion that's not in the autonomy group of the Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and ACC. What are your thoughts on that? That they're no longer saying, we're going to take the 5 highest ranked conference champions. They're now saying, we're going to take the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12 champion no matter what, and then we'll take one that's not there.
I suppose that's relatively fair. The Notre Dame rule, like you expressed, is ludicrous, but they're going to get in no matter what anyway. Freeman is an overrated coach. If he's 10-2, he'll get in. If he's 9-3, he'll get in. 8-4, maybe he'll get in. It doesn't matter. I still say that it's going to be a watered down effect, and I'm not in favor of it. I think you're going to find that the stronger conferences have the better teams, of course, the SEC and the Big Ten. They're going to put in, the SEC will have 5 or 6, Big Ten will have 5 or 6. And now you got 12 teams. You got 12 teams left over for watered down effect. I don't get it, Daniel. So, yeah, five teams from each, or 6 teams. Let's go 6 teams. 6 teams from the 2 big ones. That's 12. You got the other 2 left over. That's 14. So you now got 10 teams that have come from the smaller conferences, the ones that are not worth anything, frankly, revenue-wise. And you're going to throw those lions to the Christians kind of deal. Throw those lions to the Christians. So I'm curious to find out how they're going to rationalize this thing. I've told you my logic about it.
Yeah.
And I challenge them to tell me it's not about revenue.
Well, I mean, obviously having the Notre Dame rule shows that it is, because you're essentially saying if Notre Dame's liked enough by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, all they have to do is like them and rank them. They don't have to be good. They don't have to have a great record. They just have to be liked enough, which is kind of insane. But when you look at this is how I break down the 24 that it makes sense. If you want to keep the FBS together, and you don't want to separate the SEC and the Big Ten from everybody else, or the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC from everybody else, which they're kind of already doing. But autonomy was set up a long time ago to show that these conferences were going to be treated differently. The fact that anybody thinks that this is crazy a decade in or whatever it's been in to the autonomy legislation coming through, they did this on purpose. There is a reason why you choose a legal name of autonomy. Autonomy means you're governing. So autonomy essentially is telling the NCAA, we are under your rule unless we don't want to be, because you need us and we don't need you. So when you look at it now, if the FBS has 10 conferences and we take their champions and we rank them wherever. We could put them, or not rank them wherever, but we could seed them wherever. We could put them 24, 23, doesn't matter. But if you have 10 conference champions in the FBS, that means your conference champion of every conference would have a place in the CFP if you went to 24. So you have those 10, right? So that means you would have 14 spots, which would double the number of spots that you have right now in the at-large of 7. If you're going to put Notre Dame in every time, let's just call it 11. And so you'll have 13 at-large spots. Of those 13 at-large spots, if you took 4 more teams from the SEC and 4 more teams from the Big Ten, because we know that they get the lion's share, that's 8 at-large. So now you have 5 spots. So let's say you take another Big 12 team and you take another ACC team. So that's 2 more spots, so that's 3 spots. So now you have 3 spots and you say, well, are we going to take another team from the American? Let's say they take 1 more team from the American. So they take that, so now there's 2 spots. So now they go back and say, okay, let's take another one from the SEC, another one from the Big Ten. So that's 5 spots apiece for those, and that's your 24. 24 is going to be more than enough. You could probably get away with 20 or 22, but the only way to care about every conference champion and actually value them is to go to 24. If they don't go to 24, then the FBS is going to break apart, in my opinion. Because the MAC is not going to sit around and never get to play for a championship. Conference USA is not going to sit around. The American's not going to sit around. So they're either going to say, hey, we're either going to do this and we're going to care about conference champions and we're going to be the FBS, or we're going to separate the SEC and the Big Ten. Notre Dame will go do their thing. The ACC and the Big 12 will try to be a part of it. And then we'll see some type of shattering of Division 1A college football.
How are you going to get all these games played before the Super Bowl?
Well, this
You
is
want 24 teams.
This is the
I
thing.
mean,
But
it's absurd.
The FCS has already done it. The FCS has 24 teams. Conference champions matter. At large has opportunity, and they're done before the CFP. They play 24. CFP plays 12, and so you look at the FCS. They have 12 games like the FBS does in the regular season. They have a conference champion. They play a 24-team playoff, and they're done on January 5th or the early part of January. So they've already proven you can get 20. You can get a full season in, a conference champion in. You can get 24 teams in, and be done at the beginning of January. So the college football playoff, if they want to know how to do it, just look at the FCS. It's already been done.
Yeah, and all our kids are going to fail.
Well,
they won't be able to. They'll have a 2.0 average, they're going to try to get through school.
If we think these kids are going to school, these kids are in there 6 years and don't have a bachelor's degree. So that should tell you what's up.
That's right. That's right. But again, it's all based on revenue. And the NIL is here now.
Yeah.
Daniel, I'm too old fashioned to understand all that. Give me the 4 best teams and let them play.
That come from Papa Joe. PJ, as always, I appreciate you. I look forward to talking with you soon. We'll be talking on Sunday during the championship game, and PJ and I will be with you next week to talk about everything that happened from it. Thank you, as always. I send you my love, and I'll talk with you in just a little bit.
Thank you, Dan. Right. Bye-bye.
See you. That come from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to stay with you here. We'll take a break after we speak with Dave Pasiak because we want to bring him on right away. DT and DP is what we call it. Dave Pasiak going to be joining me here on the broadcast where sports meets that thing called life, as Dave and I will have an opportunity to speak on the NBA. Dave is very well versed when it comes to the world of basketball. I don't care if it's high school basketball, college basketball, professional basketball, doesn't matter to me. This is the guy that I trust to know this sport inside and out. He's done a tremendous job. I don't give him the questions ahead of time. I don't say, here's everybody we're talking about. This is the trade that you got to look at. Every time I have Dave on the show, I can throw anything at him, and he always comes back to me like that's the only team he pays attention to. So I don't think he'll give himself the credit that he deserves, but I'll give it to him because he has been the mind that I have trusted when it comes to our conversation on the NBA for many years. And with that being said, DT and DP is back. Mr. Pasiak, how we doing?
Doing great, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm happy to have you here. I got really excited last night when I saw my Raptors make a giant superstar splash that they don't typically make when they were like, hey, we're going to go get Chris Paul. And then I see on the ticker, well, they may not even dress this guy. They may have Chris Paul and then trade him away again. What are your thoughts on the Chris Paul deal? Would you like to see him in Toronto? Or, is this some catch and release program?
Feels like it's a little bit of a catch and release program. I think they, Chris Paul, the Clippers kind of parted way with him. And so it feels kind of like the Raptors, I don't know, did the Clippers a solid and are using Chris Paul for, cap manipulation and all that. If you believe what you hear, he may not, or they may not require him to report to Toronto, which would tell you that, they're either going to release him or include him in another move.
But I mean, to you, when these things happen, it's kind of like get up for the letdown. Toronto doesn't make a lot of giant splashes typically. They're normally building players who people don't know are superstars. They're building a guy up who ends up getting a big deal, like a DeMar DeRozan, like a Pascal Siakam. But they're not typically bringing that guy in. They did it with Kawhi, which is a rarity, right? They brought in a Marcus Camby from the New York Knicks, and obviously he did well in college, and he was a highly touted guy coming into the pros. So there's that side of it. There are moments where they've made these moves, but typically Toronto drafts the guy gets good, and he goes elsewhere. So would you like to see a Toronto team that makes a play for a big name and actually holds on to it?
Yeah, it's, if you go back in Raptors history a little bit, they were incrementally making incremental moves, getting closer, and getting closer. And like you said, they swung for Kawhi, and they got him championship level and everything. But historically, they're a team that has tried to make incremental moves as opposed to the um, big swing at one end of the spectrum, the big swing for the big name free agent, or the complete teardown and rebuild. Um,
Yeah.
they really haven't gone to either one of the extremes like a lot of teams in the NBA tend to do. So um, I think I'm guessing the Chris Paul thing is part of a bigger strategy to like make some incremental moves and move up the leaderboard, so to speak, in the East. But I mean, you're correct. I mean, the Raptors are a team historically, other than the Kawhi thing, hasn't they haven't taken the big swing for the win now.
Yeah, and that's something that, like I said, I got really excited yesterday, and then I see the continuation of the conversation that this could just be for a half a millisecond, and he never dresses. I want to go back and look at the trades that have gone on. There was one that happened early on, and we're looking at about a month ago. We're here on February 5th. This happened on January 7th. The Wizards got Trae Young from the Hawks, who got C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. Let's go back to that. The Wizards making the move for Trae Young. Your thoughts?
Well, I think at the time it was one of those things where the Hawks had kind of. I think the Hawks felt like they reached their ceiling with Trae Young as the centerpiece. He's kind of a polarizing guy, talented guy, but question whether a guy like him can be the centerpiece of a championship contender. So it felt like the Hawks had kind of Trae Young and the Hawks had kind of run their course, and the Wizards have been a bottom feeder for a couple of years. So at that time, it really wasn't super clear where the Wizards were going with Trae Young, whether that was like a short-term thing and they were going to flip him for more assets down the line, or then when you combine that with the move they made yesterday with Anthony Davis, the Wizards become kind of interesting because they've got a good core of young talent, and now it feels like they went out and got Trae Young, they got Anthony Davis, like. If they can get those guys on the same page, keep Davis healthy, and combine them with some of the young talent they got, it feels like these two moves in combination are an indicator that the Wizards feel like they're trying to accelerate the growth process. So they're bringing in Young, bringing in Davis. That's kind of a bridge to towards some of their young talent, and maybe maybe they think that can get them competitive and elevate their standing in the league sooner than if they just continue to grow out and build out with young talent.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, they're one of the worst teams in the country right now. I mean, it's not like they made these giant, pardon me, God bless me, potential blockbuster moves, but essentially, I mean, they've made these moves not for right now, but essentially for the future, right? To build through this season and to see what it can do for you. But they're the second worst team in the Eastern Conference. It's not like they made these moves like, okay, we need another piece or two, and then we're going to take over. They're 24 games out of first place, which Detroit has in the Eastern Conference, and Washington is 13-36 at the time of conversation. So this is a look at kind of a precursor to what they could be in the offseason, in the draft, what all of this ends up looking like. Bringing in an Anthony Davis, bringing in a Trae Young, having their young talent. Are they setting themselves up to be one of the contenders from the jump for 26-27? And I'll get back to the Wizards in a second. I want to go to after the January 7th move for Trae Young. There was a 3-team deal on January 31st. And so that had the Cleveland Cavaliers getting Dennis Schrader and Keon Ellis. Sacramento got DeAndre Hunter. Chicago got a couple picks, a 2027 second round, a 2029 second round, and then Dario, they bring him in at forward. Was there anything you liked about this deal? Is anything brewing in Cleveland or Sacramento right now, in your opinion?
Well, Sacramento, I think, if they're not there, they're close to full teardown and rebuild. I think that's a move that's kind of in the margins. Schrader, he's a guy who's, he's a solid pro, and I think he's a guy that gives him gives them another option, and Cleveland gives them another. I think Cleveland has kind of underperformed this year. I think that was a team coming into the season that people thought had a legit chance to come out of the East as a championship contender. And I think as the season has kind of played itself out, the Cavaliers made the decision internally and whatnot, that they can't stand pat with what they have, so they need to make some moves. And like I said, the Schrader, DeAndre Hunter, that deal is kind of in the margins. I think it's an incremental move, but then when you look what Cleveland did here recently, with making a play for Harden, that really changes the dynamic of their roster. And I think you can come at it from a couple different ways. You can look at it like they didn't feel like the roster they had in place was going to get them to where they wanted to as a team that came into the season with championship aspirations.
Yeah.
Or you can take the other point of view is, the move for Harden is, it smacks of a little bit of desperation too. So, I guess there's a couple of ways you can look at what the Cavaliers have done during this trade period.
Yeah, and I think, for Sacramento, they've been in the basement forever. They came out of it out of nowhere in recent history, and now they're back in it again. They're the worst team in the West. They're 12-40 as they bring in DeAndre Hunter. Taking a look at a big-time trade that involved a lot of players and a lot of future to Memphis, at least. This trade between Memphis and Utah, the Grizzlies and the Jazz. The Grizzlies got Kyle Anderson, Walter Clayton Jr., Taylor Hendricks, as well as Georges Niang, and 3 future first-round draft picks. Utah got Jaren Jackson II, John Conchar, if I might have said that wrong. They got Jock Landale, and they got Vince Williams Jr. Your thoughts on Memphis and Utah? They're both in the West. We look at them right now. Utah is the 3rd worst team. Memphis is the 5th worst team in the West. So Memphis right now is just outside of making a play-in game for this year's postseason, but they have 3 future first-round picks from the Jazz. Your thoughts on what Memphis is doing and what Utah gave up?
Yeah, Memphis, it's another example of, I think they felt like their core was not what it needs to be. And you hear that Morant's on the block and he may or may not move today. And if they move him today, then, that's a clear indicator that they're in full rebuild mode. But I think it's one of those deals where, Jackson was there's a lot of players involved in that deal, but Jackson certainly kind of the marquee name of that whole exchange. So I think from Memphis' perspective, I think they're looking at it, that was like step one of, this isn't working. We got to basically tear down and rebuild. Utah, I'm not really sure what they're doing. On the one hand, you put Jackson and marketing together. They're 2 of the weaker rebounding bigs in the league. So, I think they'll be kind of a fun team to watch with those guys. I don't know if this move really elevates them significantly. I think if Utah is going to make a move, Utah tends not to be a free agent destination necessarily for a variety of reasons. So I think if the Jazz are looking to to make a move and kind of elevate themselves into a contender status, they're still a couple of moves away from being able to do that. So, I think it was one of those deals where, Memphis had an opportunity to stockpile some parts and some draft picks and move on from one of their core guys, and kind of Utah accommodated that for them.
Well, and gave them a ton of future first round, not even second round draft picks. Clippers get James Harden, get rid of James Harden. You and I, you alluded to this just a few minutes ago. Cleveland making moves, and we know that Cleveland, as we just spoke about, had already brought in Dennis Schrader and Keon Ellis, so they bring in 2 guards to their backcourt. Then they make a move and go and get another guard in James Harden. giving up Darius Garland and a 2026 second-round pick to the LA Clippers. Thoughts on Cleveland with Schrader, Ellis, Harden? We look at them right now. They are in playoff contention. They are in the top 4. They're 31-21 at the time of our conversation. Going heavy in their backcourt, do you think this is going to help them play a Boston, play a New York Knicks, play a Piston, Philadelphia 76ers? Are they in a place where they can get over the hump with all of this restructuring of their backcourt?
Well, I think they think so. That's really from the Cleveland side of things. That's the reason to make a move with Harden. Older guy, later in his contract. How this trade plays out from a Cleveland standpoint, I think you can evaluate it today with an asterisk. I think, if adding Harden elevates them to where, they get to the NBA Finals or even the Eastern Conference Finals or win a championship or something. I think if they making this move to Harden, if it leads to a deep run in the postseason, then you can say, yeah, in the short run, it's a great deal for Cleveland. On the Clippers side of things, like Garland is a really talented player, but he's had some injury troubles this year. I found the deal a little perplexing on the Clippers from the Clippers' perspective, just because they're a team that got off to an awful start and then had kind of flipped the switch and turned it around, got themselves into playing position. Kawhi had been playing really well. Harden had been one of the catalysts of that, still playing at a really high level. And to see them, from the Clippers' perspective, we said from the Cleveland perspective, it's a win-now move. You add, in the here and now, you upgraded your roster. Harden versus Garland, especially given Garland's injury issues and everything. Win now perspective from the Clippers, it almost feels like they pushed aside the here and now for more of a long-term deal. They got a guy that, there's a lot of upside with Garland if he's healthy. He's significantly younger than Harden. I believe he has more years still left on his contract. So I think it's a move where, from a Clippers perspective, it's a longer term move. They probably looked at it from the standpoint that, even with the way they've played of late, where they kind of got themselves back into contention, they're not really a championship contender, especially coming out of the West. So, they got a chance to get a tangible asset for Harden, and it's more of a medium to long-term move for the Clippers at the expense of the here and now.
Yeah, and we'll see. Some of these teams making these moves at the time they did, will it catapult them forward and have an opportunity to get into the postseason, get into a play-in game at least, or will it work oppositely and send them down as they plan toward the future and maybe don't make the playoffs because of some moves they made? Big time move, and you alluded to this one as well. Obviously, Trae Young's going to the Wizards. Second worst team in the East, but now they have Trae Young and they have Anthony Davis. In a trade with the Dallas Mavericks, Washington, after getting Trae Young from the Hawks, the Washington Wizards got Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum from the Dallas Mavericks, who got from the Wizards Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, and Marvin Bagley III. The Mavericks also got a 2026 first-round pick, which came from Washington via OKC, a 2030 first-round pick, which came from Washington but originally came from Golden State. It's a top 20 protected first-round pick, a 2026 second-round pick that came from Phoenix originally, a 2027 second-round pick that came from Chicago originally, and a 2029 second-round pick from Houston. What is Dallas doing? They made this trade. They gave Luka Doncic, who was the face of their franchise, who had just helped them to an NBA Finals. They gave him to the Lakers to be the future face of the Lakers, and they got Anthony Davis. Now Anthony Davis is a Wizard, and now they have Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Branham, Bagley, and the hopes of what future first and second round picks can be between now and 2030. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about the Wizards, in the Trae Young situation. I think they're, whether this deal pans out at all for them depends on Davis getting healthy, how he pairs up with Young. I don't think they're going to play Davis the rest of the year. I would be surprised if they do. Same with Young. They'll probably, load manage him too, and basically tank to try to improve their, their draft situation. I think they're looking at it as jump starting next year. You got Davis and Young together, how they mesh in combination with a pretty good young core that they've started to assemble. And I think, can Davis and Young, adding them to that, can that accelerate that growth process and that competitiveness process. I think Dallas, I think this is their way of trying to get out from under. It was just a horrible deal when they traded Luka basically for Davis. This was a team that was in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And now it's a complete rebuild, and they're rebuilding around Flag, who I think it's interesting. They were really lucky in the lottery last year. They weren't the team with the best chances of getting the top pick. They end up with Cooper Flag. So in that sense, they lucked out in their rebuild because they do have a guy that I think, is a cornerstone piece that they can rebuild the franchise around. But it's going to be a long time before, they get totally away from the after effects of dealing away Luka.
Yeah, now with Anthony Davis gone from Dallas, Cooper Flag is now the leading scorer on the team as a rookie, 20.1 points per game. Anthony Davis was at 20.4, and Cooper also brings you about 7 rebounds a game, 4 assists per game, at least a steal per game, and almost a block per game with just 2.2 turnovers per game as a rookie. So he's definitely shown up for them, and he's been doing well, even though Dallas is not overall having a lot of success this season. Now, there was a 3-team deal where Mike Conley, who had already been moved to Chicago, is not staying in Chicago. He's now going to Charlotte. Mike Conley goes to Charlotte. Kobe White goes to Charlotte. And a 2029 second-round pick, most favorable of Atlanta or Miami in this deal. Chicago gets guard Colin Sexton. They also get Jiang at forward. They get a 2029 second-round pick, least favorable of Denver or Charlotte, a 2031 second round that originally came from the Knicks, and a 2031 second round that came from Denver. Oklahoma City gets Mason Plumlee, who was waived at center. So Oklahoma City saves money. Charlotte gets a guy that is on his third team in a half a millisecond, and Chicago gets backcourt and frontcourt help and second round picks of the future. Did anybody win this one, or is this just shift around money and contracts?
I think it's a pretty interesting deal with Charlotte. They grab Conley, they grab, Kobe White, who's a solid player. I think Charlotte's a team that has played really well of late and is exceeding kind of preseason expectations and early season expectations. And, they're a team that all of a sudden, everybody thought they were going to be, one of the worst teams in the league, along with the Wizards and a couple other people. But they've kind of found it a little bit, in the last 6 weeks or a month. And I think, bringing in White and bringing in, bringing in Conley, I think that's they're looking to make that little upgrade. And maybe for Charlotte, making the, getting into play-in would be a hugely successful season. So, I would say in that deal, Chicago's just, rebuilding and moving parts and whatnot. But Charlotte, I think for them, it's a tangible move to try to give them a little bump to maybe build on what they're doing and sneak their way into the postseason.
And it's funny that this deal was made with Chicago just above Charlotte for that play-in. So, again, we'll see. Does this move Chicago below Charlotte? Does it stay the same? We'll have to see. But right now, they are right there with each other and very close to getting the last spot for the NBA playoffs on the East side. I want to hit two before, I know we just got a couple minutes, but I want to hit these two. I'm going to save the best for last because I know you're a Sixer fan. So I do want to get to this one, though. Atlanta got Jock Landale that, like Mike Conley, was on a bunch of different teams within this. He was on a team, then traded again. So Jock Landale is going to the Hawks at center. The Utah Jazz are getting Lonzo Ball and Cash, and Cleveland is getting 2 second-round picks. We spoke about Utah before. Now they have Lonzo Ball. What is Utah going to do with all of these players that have come in? They've given up a lot of future when it comes to picks, but now Lonzo's out on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's expected that Utah is going to waive Lonzo, so I don't think he's actually going to play for them. I think it's more of a salary cap manipulation move. So, like I said earlier, I'm having a hard time figuring out what Utah is really trying to do. I think that was kind of a thing where, it's a salary cap and roster flexibility move on Utah's part. Cleveland's involvement, I think, is mostly, again, salary manipulation. Like, teams basically get involved at the trade deadline. I mean, there's three motivations. If you're in contention, trying to make that move to get you over the top. If you're out of contention, you're usually trying to stockpile assets, draft assets, or young players. And if you're kind of in that middle ground, a lot of times there's salary cap. People are trying to stay out of the luxury tax and out of the second apron. So, a lot of these moves at the deadline, teams that get involved in these moves, their motivation is to avoid having to pay the luxury tax. So, which I think was, Cleveland's motivation in this whole thing. And I think the Lonzo thing is a salary manipulation deal with Utah too.
Yeah, and these two that I want to make sure I get to, Atlanta Hawks, Jonathan Kuminga comes in and Buddy Hield. The Warriors get Kristaps Porzingis, who is supposed to be a help of the Celtics getting over the hump. Now he's a Warrior. Are the Warriors still, in your opinion, a team to beat? Is this a move to make one last-ditch effort with the band that they've had together for so long? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, the Warriors, I think as long as Curry's playing at a high level, as long as Curry's, playing at a high level, I think the Warriors are kind of pot committed to try to make whatever moves they can to give him and them the best chance to win now. And I think the move with Porzingis, to me, it's interesting. And Boston made a kind of a similar move with Vucevic. I think they, bring in a guy who's a high upside guy who really, Kuminga had kind of worn out his stay in Golden State anyways. He had been on, trade rumors and on the block for a while. So I think it's a relatively low risk, high upside move for the Warriors. I think, Porzingis, when he's healthy and playing at a high level, if he can fit his game with Curry and, assuming Draymond stays, because there's been talk about Draymond being on the market too, see if he's there by the end of the day. But I think if Porzingis plays close to peak level, I think it's really a move by Golden State that could propel them into the conversation of contenders in the West. Yeah,
and a last note here with you being a Sixer fan, the Sixers and my Raptors are both in the top 6 in the East right now. Philadelphia is 5th, and they made a move to trade away to the Oklahoma City Thunder guard Jared McCain. They get a 2026 first-round pick from Houston originally, 2027 second-round pick, which is the most favorable of the picks from OKC, Houston, Indiana, and Miami, and 2 2028 second-round picks from OKC and Milwaukee. Your thoughts on Philadelphia being in the top 5 in the East, making a move to lose a player but gain picks in the next 3 years?
Yeah, on the surface, don't like the move. I thought McCain, to me, he's a guy, like an upside guy that before he got hurt last year, he was he was the front runner for Rookie of the Year a year ago until he got hurt. Now, since he came back from the injury, he hasn't been the same player. So, like the move from Oklahoma City's standpoint, gives them potentially another, more depth, a rich get richer kind of thing. Sixers on a surface basketball move don't like it. Reason they made the move, is strictly to get under the luxury tax. They didn't get like the draft pick they got is probably not going to be super high in a draft that's not supposed to be super deep. And the second round picks don't have a ton of value to them by themselves. So strictly a move to get them. It allows them to convert a two-way guy to a full contract. Gets them under the luxury tax. That's pretty much the motivation from Philly standpoint.
Well, we know that today at, I believe, 3 p.m. Eastern time here on Thursday, February 5th, the trade deadline will reach its final point. So we'll see Giannis, Draymond, and company, if anybody gets moved today. Giannis has been talked about a lot, but that could turn into very little by the end of the day. As always, Dave, I appreciate the time. I will have you back next week as we analyze the full scope of the NBA trade deadline, and I always appreciate the time.
Great to catch up with you, Dan. We'll chat again soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon. That coming from Dave Pasiak here, longtime basketball coach of many decades and a wonderful basketball mind that I always respect and appreciate his time and our friendship. And we will take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life, inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. And we'll come back with more conversation right after the break. Stay with us.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people, that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
Now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, you know, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, you know, everyone in the world's gonna sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, you know, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, and you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Caz location, and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different, and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point, because you get a little something different at each one. You know, we understand how hard it is to, you know, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. And they're open for sales and service Monday through Saturday. They're open all the time by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. So make sure you do that. I am so happy to be here with you. And like I said earlier in the broadcast, thank you for your patience today. We had a morning meeting, and great meeting. Awesome. A lot of fun. But it definitely had the show start a little bit later. I thought I had given us enough of a cushion, and, you know, good conversations take time. So I appreciate you for being patient with us this morning and you know, making sure that you're here with us now. So I appreciate y'all, and know that your time is extremely valued by me. And I just want to thank you for that. So, like I was talking with Dave about, a lot of moves getting made, and we have until 3 p.m. Eastern time today. I know that one I didn't talk about with Dave, but the Magic and the Hornets made a move. So the Hornets, again, making another move. They're just outside of being in the play-in opportunity for the NBA. You got your top 6, and then you have 7 through 10 who have that play-in between the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds. Well, Charlotte's trying to potentially get into that and have an opportunity there. They've got Tyus Jones, a guard from the Magic, plus a 2027 second-round pick, least favorable of Boston or Orlando, and a 2028 second-round pick. Orlando got cash. So Orlando gave up 2 second-rounders and Tyus Jones for some money, and we'll see what they use toward the future with that. We also saw the Raptors and the Warriors make a move here. Tracy Jackson Davis, a center, is going to Toronto, who is currently in the top 6 in the Eastern Conference, and the Warriors got a 2026 second-round pick originally from the Lakers that Toronto had, and now they've given that up. So it puts us in a place right now where a bunch of these moves were made yesterday on February 4th, the day before. There's only been one move made today as we're approaching the trade deadline, which is today, February 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. The Minnesota Timberwolves got guard Ayo Dosunmu from Chicago. Chicago got Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, and 4 second-round picks. These teams are giving up second-round picks like it's candy. It's crazy, these second-round picks that have been given up here. So now as we go and we take a look at what could happen today. What are some of the rumors that are out there, and just looking at what we could see some of these teams end up getting. I mean, the Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously people are talking about him, and the thoughts that could Draymond Green play on his second team ever in the NBA. He's always been a Golden State Warrior. So what could this mean for him? And, I mean, I think when it comes to Giannis, like, listen, Giannis he's been with the Milwaukee team for a long time. I might have said Milwaukee Brewers. I hope I didn't, but the Milwaukee Bucks, he's been with the Bucks forever. And now, we know that he's helped lead a team like them out of the basement to being a team that vies for an NBA title. Now, Giannis, here's something, when we look at, his love for the city. He said, I got married in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and also legally from the courthouse. And also I've had my kids here. My father's buried here. So tell me when I open the passport of my kids and it says born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, my dad's buried here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So, you look at, to those that maybe are wondering if he loves this area, if he loves Milwaukee. This is not a big market, right? Compared to the other markets he could go. And the question becomes, is there going to be a move, or are we going to see him stay? So, the Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I'm actually going to put up the opportunity for you to vote in a poll right now, because I feel like we should. Why not? We got the trade deadline that's coming up later on today. So let's go ahead and do that. So I want to hear what you say, and you can vote now in the poll. It's getting put up on X, the former Twitter, currently. Will we see Giannis Antetokounmpo traded before the trade deadline happens today, February 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern time? So will we see him traded, or will we not see him traded? I want to get your thoughts on just where you're leaning. I like to put out, these opportunities for people to vote. I think it's exciting. And we run polls on X, the former Twitter, all the time at CallDT. That's CALLDT. And so you can make sure that you vote in our polls all throughout the year. We always appreciate everybody voting in our polls. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this up, get your thoughts, and you can feel free to send us your take here on Wake Up Call by going over to X, the former Twitter. That's at CallDT, CALLDT. And I'm going to put it up here. So I'm thinking it's 11:15 right now, trade deadline. So we got a little over 3 hours. So I'm going to put 3.5 hours on this to give you a chance to vote all the way up until the deadline. Something could happen, something could not happen, but I want to get your thoughts. Will we see Giannis traded before the deadline? You could vote yes or no, and that is now officially live on our X account, the former Twitter, at CallDT. That's CALLDT. We'll be back to talk more about the NBA right after this inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay with us. 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So K9 Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. K9 Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry loving friend. Right, Lily? Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Appreciate you being here Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. This weather is so frigid. And it is so cold in central and upstate New York right now. I hope you're staying warm and I hope you're staying safe. Y'all have voted immediately. We literally went and took a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we have had just massive voting so instantaneously. It's only been up for 6 minutes. So will we see Giannis Antetokounmpo traded before the trade deadline happens today, February 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time? 63.3% of you have said no. 36.7% of you have said yes. So we'll see who's right in just a few hours, in 3 hours and some change. So, yeah, but I mean, as we look at these trades and what could be and what may be and what isn't, you know, there's a bunch of trade rumors out there and thoughts on who could be a part of this final day. And, you know, I mean, I think as we look at everything, you know, Giannis has been a Buck for his whole career. And I mean, I don't know if that's going to change. So, I mean, Kristaps Porzingis is now with the Warriors. So that could be a big help for them. And beyond that now, I mean, just looking at what's here, I mean, are they going to get rid of the junkyard dog in Golden State? You know, could this be something that we see? So I'm just looking at some of the rumors that might be out here right now and what some things may be. If there's anything that kind of sticks with me at the moment beyond Giannis. So there's pictures of him as a Minnesota Timberwolf, a Chicago Bull, a member of the Miami Heat. So that's a little interesting here. But I mean, we could see this day come and go, and Giannis is where he is. I find it interesting, though, like Detroit, I mean, they're in first place in the East. They're not coming up at any of this stuff. And shout out to Detroit. Shout out to my guy, Meier, who's been playing for Motor City. Their G League team, one step out of being in the NBA. And we look at Detroit right now, and who's been running the show here? Cade Cunningham's their leading scorer. Jalen Duran is right behind him. And then Tobias Harris, who has a connection to upstate New York. He's the third leading scorer right now for the number one in the East Detroit Pistons. Duncan Robinson's behind him. And then Ausar Thompson and Isaiah Stewart, also from Central and Upstate New York. He is one of the players on the Pistons that is averaging double digits in points here. And then as far as rebounding goes, you know, Duran has 10.7 rebounds. Cunningham has 5.5. Tobias has 4.6. And then Isaiah Stewart has over 5. Thompson has 6. Robinson has 2.7. And, you know, so you're not seeing Detroit being brought up in any of this. You're not seeing the Knicks. I mean, yes, with the Giannis conversation, I think that's going to come up. Whether there's any validity to it or not, I think the Knicks come up when it comes to Giannis because it's New York City and it's Madison Square Garden. And the biggest name out there is Giannis. So it makes sense, right? big city, big name, whether there's validity to it or not, that it gets brought up. But Jalen Brunson right now is averaging almost 30 points a game for the Knicks, who are in second place in the East. Karl Anthony Towns is almost at 20 points a game. OG Anunoby, who was a guy that was there on the Raptors squad and wasn't a big name back then when they won the title in 2019, and now he's averaging almost 17 a game. Mikal Bridges is averaging 15.7. Miles McBride averaging over 12. Josh Hart averaging over 12. And then a bunch of guys, there's a couple guys that are averaging almost 9 points a game as well. So the Knicks, a team that you're not really seeing in the moves here either, and you're not seeing it with the Celtics, right? There's quiet here with the Celtics, who are third right now. Jaylen Brown leads the way. Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simmons. Well, and there's also the thought that Anthony Simmons could be a guy that gets moved, but Luke Garza being on the team, Sam Hauser, and we haven't, of course, seen Jason Tatum. Says a lot about the Boston Celtics, though, with Tatum getting injured last year, unfortunately, toward the end of the season, and God bless in his recovery, and the fact that the Celtics are still a top 3 team in the East that have won 33 of the 51 games they played up to this point, and they don't have Jason Tatum. And then when we look in the West with the Oklahoma City Thunder, they've been involved in some of these moves. Spurs, you're not really seeing them, and not too much from the Denver Nuggets, or the Houston Rockets as well. So, I mean, the Lakers, this is an interesting thing of, this is the Luka, you would think it's Luka Doncic's team of the future. He's leading the team with 33.4 points per game. Austin Reeves, 26.1. LeBron James, 22. DeAndre Ayton, 13.5. And then Roy Hachimura has 11.9. Marcus Smart has 9.6 for this team. So we are seeing, Luka's being Luka. And for Dallas, within the last 2 years, to be in the NBA Finals and now to be in the place that they're in, they've already moved Anthony Davis. They don't have Luka Doncic. I don't know what the hell Dallas is doing. Hopefully they figure it out. They have Cooper Flagg, which is great. Obviously there's a positive there to build around, but you kind of shake your head on why they made some of these decisions that they've made, especially getting rid of Luka. It seems like that helps the Lakers, but it did nothing for Dallas. And now Dallas lost that big piece that they got for Luka, which I didn't think was overall a fair trade. And it's no offense to Anthony Davis. I didn't think it was a fair trade at all. I feel like that trade benefited the Lakers and did little to do anything for Dallas in their future or their present. And you can obviously see Dallas's season is not going that well. So, you do another team a solid that's in the same conference as you, and then you don't help yourself is kind of weird. So we'll see as we go here. And then the Bucks do not feel any pressure. What we're seeing here to trade Giannis, and I don't know why they would. If the Bucks trade Giannis, let's take a look and see what this roster looks like for Milwaukee right now. Okay, so if we take a look at the Bucks, and right now the Bucks are 20-29. They're behind Charlotte and Chicago for that last spot in the play-in for the NBA playoffs. Giannis leads the team with 28 points. Kevin Porter Jr. is the closest with 16.8. So is Ryan Rollins. And then Bobby Portis has 13.2. Kuzma has 13. Miles Turner has 13. AJ Green has 10.5. And so, Giannis is averaging a double-double, 28 points, 10 rebounds per game. Defensive side, 7.2 rebounds a game. Offensively, almost 3 rebounds a game. And he's also averaging just under 6 assists per game and almost a block per game with 3.3 turnovers. I'm looking at this team with Taurean Prince and Cole Anthony, Gary Trent Jr., a bunch of the guys that I mentioned, Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma. You would think that this team would be better, but they're in the bottom portion of the East. They're the 4th worst team in the East right now. And we know that Washington's made a lot of moves for their future. And so Milwaukee, if he's happy there, and he's willing to navigate through the adversity with Milwaukee, then, why don't you keep him? I think right now, people calling Milwaukee could say, hey, you got an all-star, your team's at the bottom, you got no shot of making the playoffs, so, make this move right now and go get a bunch of pieces for the future. But then the question is, who's going to give them those pieces? Who has the trade capital to give to them? Who has the draft capital for the future? And who has players that would make sense? Because you lose Giannis, this Milwaukee team still has some guys like the guys that I mentioned that I like. So, Miles Turner coming from Indiana. There's pieces here that I wouldn't want to see Milwaukee go into a full rebuild off of this. And so, if they don't have to, then they're not gonna. And teams go through peaks and valleys. On paper, that's why you play the game. Some teams on paper look like they're supposed to win the championship this year, next year, and the year after that. But it doesn't always happen that way. So we'll see. And allegedly, Luke Kennard may have an extension with the Hawks right now, coming from Duke basketball to Atlanta. So we'll see on that. But we got a few more hours before this all shakes out. And we have teams that are very, very well in the playoff picture that have made some moves, and we have some that have stayed pat. So we'll see. Actually, pardon me. Now they're saying that Luke Kennard does not have an extension, and looking at Luke becoming a Laker. So this is within, the last 32 minutes that allegedly the Lakers have acquired Luke Kennard from the Hawks in exchange for Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second-round pick. So I'll be monitoring that and seeing if that is actually the case for Luke Kennard, that the Lakers may be bringing him in. So we'll see. Outside of that, we talked about the NFL today. I want to hit NCAA men's basketball for a second here. I've been so into the football side of things that I haven't talked a lot about the men's basketball side. A little bit I have, but to take a gander at where we're at right now, the current standings around the country here. I'm going to hit this really quick before we hop out of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. In the America East, UMBC leads the way for men's basketball in a tie with Vermont and NJIT. By the way, shout out to NJIT. They used to be independent. They used to be one of the worst teams in the country, and now they're tied for first place in the America East. So shout out to them. In the American, Tulsa is at the top. South Florida and Charlotte, who's come up the ranks here, they're behind them. Wichita State, who used to be really good and came on the scene to a lot of people in 2013 when they made the Final Four. They've gone through coaching changes and they've been quiet in the last few years. They're in the top 5 of the American right now, so shout out to them for that. And in the A-Sun, the former Atlantic Sun, and now it's just called the A-Sun, Austin P is at the top of that. The only team in the conference with double-digit wins. Central Arkansas is behind them. In the Atlantic 10, St. Louis Billikens, who years ago came on the scene in the NCAA tournament, and you got to know their logo of the Billiken, which to me looks like the villain in the Gummy Bears cartoon that used to be on Disney. And I say that with positivity because I love that show. So St. Louis is 10-0 in their conference, 22-1 overall. George Mason, who had some positive moments in the world of March Madness, they're in second place. VCU, who had positive moments in March Madness, they're tied for second place with George Mason. And St. Joseph's, they've come up, who also had some positive moments in March Madness, and we're a number 1 seed. The Dayton Flyers, who during COVID were probably going to be the number 1 overall seed in men's basketball, they're in the top 5. in the A10. So I'm going to be watching that finish closely. The A10 is a wonderful conference to watch for basketball, and just seeing some really cool teams come out of there, which include the World of Davidson and the Wildcats that had a Steph Curry back in the day. The ACC, Duke leads the way. They're undefeated in the ACC at 10-0. Clemson's 9-1. Virginia's 8-2, and that's after Tony Bennett. They're in the top 4. NC State, who fired their coach last year, that was maybe a year, not even a year removed from making it to the Final Four, and they're 8-2 now with a new coach. North Carolina's in 5th place in the ACC. They're tied with Miami, who has a new coach, and Louisville with, a wonderful, with the leadership that they have with the Louisville Cardinals, and a coach that I first spoke with when he was at the College of Charleston, and now I have the opportunity to continue to speak with Pat Kelsey. He's got Louisville in the top 7 of the ACC. And then in the Big 12, Arizona's leading the way. They're the number 1 ranked team in America right now. They're undefeated, 22-0, 9-0 in the Big 12. Houston shooting up there. Love Kelvin Sampson and the work he's done there. They're 20-2, 8-1 in the Big 12. Kansas is tied with Iowa for that 3rd spot. Texas Tech is there as well. UCF has risen to 17-5, 6-4 in the conference, top 6 in the conference. So of Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston joining the Big 12 just a couple of years ago, you got Houston and UCF in the top 6 already. The BYU Cougars right behind UCF. In the Big East, UConn leads the way. They're 22-1, 12-0 in the Big East. Anybody that's been around the Big East, even though they've lost teams, and they still have a bunch of talent in the Big East. So to be undefeated in the Big East is saying a lot. St. John's, here we go again with Rick Pitino, and he's killing it. 17-5 overall, 10-1 in the Big East. Villanova with a new coaching staff, they're in 3rd place. Seton Hall's in 4th place, and Creighton is right there with them at 6-6. Georgetown's gotten better, 13-10 overall, 5-7 in the Big East, but they're in the top 6 in Big East play. And then you look at the Big Sky. Portland State's at the top, followed by Montana State, who just won a championship in football. In the Big South, Winthrop is tied with High Point, and Radford's right behind them. In the Big Ten, Illinois leads the Big Ten. Michigan behind them. Nebraska, Michigan State, Purdue, and then Wisconsin. And then in the Big West, there's 32 conferences, folks. I'm just giving you a little update here before we get into the thick of March Madness and all of that and start picking the teams. As you know, I will give you my entire bracket. I'll do my bracketology. I'll talk about who's on the bubble, who I think's out, who I think's in. I'm going to pick the entire field, and then we're going to see I'm right on Selection Sunday, or if I'm wrong on Selection Sunday, or a little bit of both. UC Irvine in the Big West, they lead the way, and UC Santa Barbara and Hawaii are right behind them. UC Davis isn't that far away as well. In the CAA, UNC Wilmington, then the Charleston Cougars, who used to have Pat Kelsey as their coach. Conference USA, the Liberty Flames are undefeated in the conference at 11-0, 19-3 overall. Sam Houston, Missouri State, not too far behind them in the Horizon. Wright State is 10-3, Oakland is 10-4, and Purdue Fort Wayne, the Mastodons, they're not too far behind. In the Ivy League, Harvard and Yale, fight each other in the classroom. They're fighting each other on the court. They're both 5-2 in the Ivy League right now. Dartmouth is 4-3, so they're pretty close. Princeton, who made a run recently, also 4-3. In the MAAC, the MAC, you got Merrimack, who are number 1 in their first season in the MAAC. They are in first place. And Siena, with Jerry McNamara right behind them, with a record of 9-3. Merrimack's 10-2 in the conference. Jerry has a better record overall than Merrimack. He's leading Siena to a 16-7 record so far. In the MAC of the MAC, we have Miami of Ohio, who's ranked in the top 25 of the nation. They're 11-0 in the conference, 23-0 overall. They're ranked 23 in the country. Akron's right behind them, and Kent State. In the MEAC, the MEAC, NC Central, North Carolina Central, is currently at the top, but they have a losing record. This is crazy. In the MAC, there is no team, or in the MEAC, pardon me, There is no team in the MEAC with a winning record overall except for Howard, who's 14-9. Their top team in their conference has an 8-12 overall record. The second team has a 9-13 overall record. The third team has a 6-16, and the fourth team has an 8-16 overall record. So that's pretty wild. In the Missouri Valley Conference, the MVC, Belmont is at the top right now. Murray State close behind them. And then Bradley. In the Mountain West, Utah State and San Diego State are both 10-2. Utah State's 19-3 overall. New Mexico's pretty close, and Grand Canyon as well. In the Northeast Conference, the NEC, Long Island is at the top, 8-1. Then you have Stonehill, Mercyhurst, who just joined the league this year. They're third. And Lemoyne, who's still in their transition to D1, they're fourth in the NEC. Shout out to Lemoyne here in Syracuse, New York. In the Ohio Valley Conference, UT Martin is at the top, followed by Tennessee State and Southeast Missouri State. Patriot League's got Navy at the top, then Colgate, and then American. We'll see how that shakes out. The Patriot League always having a nice tournament time, and I'm always excited to see that. They've had some good moments in recent history. In the SEC, Texas A&M is unranked, but they lead the entire SEC. Let me know how many times that's happened. And then Florida is ranked. They're tied with Texas A&M at 7-2. Kentucky 7-3. Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee are all 6-3, and they're all ranked in the top 25 in the country. In the Southern Conference, East Tennessee State leads the way, followed by Wofford, the Terriers, who made some hay in the NCAA tournament here within the last, I want to say it was in the last decade or so. Might be a little farther back than I remember, but I know Wofford definitely got into the tournament a time or two. In the Southland Conference, Stephen F. Austin leads the way with McNeese behind them. McNeese, we know, made a run with Quadir Copeland, former guard for Syracuse, who went to McNeese, won the Southland Conference, got into the NCAA tournament as an automatic bid, and beat Clemson, a team that he knew when he was playing for Syracuse in the ACC. And then Nichols is right behind McNeese and Stephen F. Austin. Southwestern Athletic Conference, the SWAC, has Bethune-Cookman at the top, Papa Joe's alma mater. Arkansas Pine Bluff close behind them on that. And in the Summit League, North Dakota State is followed by St. Thomas, Minnesota, the Tommies. Interesting name there as a nickname. And the North Dakota State is first in the Summit, followed by St. Thomas, Minnesota, and then North Dakota. So you got two teams from North Dakota repping the top three in the Summit. And then in the Sun Belt, Troy is at the top, App State behind them, and South Alabama. And in the WCC, the West Coast Conference, we know that Gonzaga is going to be joining the Pac-12 after this. This is their last year in the West Coast, and they're not leading it. And neither is St. Mary's. It's Santa Clara right now, who's 11-1, 20-5 overall. Gonzaga is 10-1 in the West Coast Conference, 22-2 overall. St. Mary's 9-2 and 20-4. And then in the WAC, the Western Athletic, we have Utah Valley tied with California Baptist and UT Arlington for the top spot. And then Utah Tech is also in the WAC right now with Southern. And so outside of that, those are all the teams with winning records. Of the 7 teams in the WAC, the top 4 have winning records in the conference and also winning records overall. So that's a look at the entire scope of men's Division I basketball as we get closer and closer. We're in February right now. Beginning of March is when we start having our conference tournaments. So we're not that far away, and definitely going to be paying close attention to this in the NCAA world as we get set for the tournament. My own, bracket thoughts, and of course the drive of over a decade with Ross Turetsky, my fellow broadcaster, writer, and a brother to me above everything else. We'll take a step aside for a fast break, and we'll wrap things up on Wake Up Call right after this.
In Liverpool, New York, great cars, great people, Great Lakes. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks comes to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. They're your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Go over and see them Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. They are there to take that kid spirit that you have and to fan the flame of that kid spirit. It doesn't matter your age. You can collect your favorite team, your favorite player, your favorite trading card game, favorite characters, all at GG Cards and Breaks. While supplies last, Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, One Piece, as well as your boxing, soccer, hockey, basketball, baseball, football. They're the only place that I know that has every NBA, every NFL, and every MLB team with their own box. They sort through their cards, and these aren't just base cards, folks. These are rookie cards. These are numbered cards. These are patch cards, relic cards, cards that may be autographed. You want to make sure that if you have favorite teams, favorite players, you go and search through those boxes because there's diamonds in the rough that you will find there. I shouldn't even call it diamonds in the rough because there's a lot of great stuff in those boxes. It's like a diamond that you don't expect to find. And, you know, everything that they've done, they have so many cards to showcase. So they've added so many more showcases now so you could see more of their cards. Their inventory is fantastic. The people are wonderful. They're led by the best in Josh and Anthony. And I can't say enough about a place that makes me feel like a kid and helps me have memories in the sports card world and trading card world that I never thought I'd have again after being a kid. And I'm having some of my best memories right now, thanks to these wonderful people. Head over to 639 Delmar Place today and you won't be disappointed. Big time shout out to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. You can't miss it. Giant brick building, double drive-through, massive indoor seating area. You can order on the app through the drive-through, or you can sit down and have some fun. They're also available for fundraising and catering. You can get more information by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and clicking on the Chick-fil-A Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard logo. So go and do that today. Your favorites are waiting for you. your timeless Chick-fil-A specials, and of course, the limited time only, including those commemorative cups. Get over to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt today and say hi to Megan Sorber and her team. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being a part of today's show. Appreciate you as always. I want to make sure we gave you 2 hours after we started late, as we had to, like I said, I had a meeting this morning and it ran longer than anticipated, but nothing inside of me was going to not give you the 2 hours that are promised. I say we underpromise and overdeliver. So if I promise you 2, I better give you 2. And I know Monday we gave you over 4, Tuesday we gave you over 2, Wednesday we gave you over 3, and today we gave you over 2. So I promised 10 hours a week, and we were at over 9 hours before I even got on the air today. So happy to be here with you. I value your time. I want you to know that, and I appreciate that you spend that with us, whether it's live or you listen to the playback of the show or watch the playback of the show. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, you can listen to us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Big time shout out to our Central and Upstate New York partners. I love my team very much. Great Lakes Honda City, been with us for over a decade. Carvel DeWitt, going toward a decade and a half. Wildcat, going toward 9 years. GG Cards and Brakes is in year 3. Myers Creek, we're in our first year together with both locations, 33 Rippleton Road in Kaz and on 720 Van Rensselaer Street in the Syracuse Inner Harbor. Brian's Landing and I are in year 2. Avicoli's, I think it's like year 7 right now, in Avicoli's at Liverpool. Canine Camp Dog Daycare, got to be at least 7 or 8 years. Same thing for Canine Campground Dog Boarding. Ma and Pa's around that 7-year mark. Pizza Man's at least 4, if not, I want to say we're in year 5. Chick-fil-A DeWitt is new to the family. Game Point Sports Complex is new. We started working with them just a couple months of them opening. Mother's Cupboard, I believe, is in year 4. Chick-fil-A Cicero, we've been with them the majority of the time from the day that they opened, and they're heading toward a decade, being out there on 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, New York. Of course, Binghamton University, we're heading toward our year 3, and we're proud to be their exclusive multimedia marketing partner. Binghamton University here with us with student athletes, coaches, and administration on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We call it Bearcat Time, and we're bringing you your Bearcats. And, of course, you can find them all by going to youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the Exclusive Partners tab. For more information, go to BinghamtonBearcats.com. And as always, go Bearcats. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, also having an exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Onondaga Community College Lasers. You'll find the Lasers in unprecedented coverage, what we've done in 6 months for OCC. I don't know if OCC has ever gotten this coverage in years, but I've always cared about OCC, care about Rob Edson, may he rest in peace, the coaches that have come through there, and the wonderful relationships that I've gotten to build with student athletes, coaches, and administration. So it's my pleasure and my honor to give OCC something that I feel like they should have always had. And I've spent, not just in these last 6 months, but over 12 years of covering Onondaga Community College. Was never asked to, just wanted to. The Laser Lounge brings you conversations with student athletes, coaches, and administration. You can find it all by going to youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find our OCC playlist, and for more information on the Lasers, go to OnondagaLasers.com. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank Papa Joe, Dave Pasiak, and of course, I want to thank Myers Creek for giving us a double dose of my Central and Upstate New York High School Player of the Week, which I choose every single week, and we had to make good on one from last week, so we had 2 for you this week. So shout out to Carter Mathewson as well as to Tyler Seymour. Carter Mathewson, the goalie of West Genesee boys ice hockey, and to Tyler Seymour of the Homer Boys Bowling team. Make sure you check out all of our Player of the Week specials by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and go to the Player of the Week playlist. Tyler and Carter will both be added to that playlist on our YouTube channel. God bless to them. Many thanks to Myers Creek. Have a beautiful day. For Papa Joe, Dave Pasiak, and myself, Dan Tortora, I will see you tonight, Thursday, February 5th at 6 p.m. on the stage at Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York, with the Baldwinsville Bees JV boys basketball team and my guy, Brett Liedka, their head coach in his first season running his own program. Excited to see you out in Beeville tonight at Pizza Man. Great food, great people, great experience. Wonderful to see Brett. Can't wait to see the boys and all the families out there at Pizza Man. We'll see you tonight, February 5th at 6 p.m. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. As always, folks, you know what it is. God bless. No stress. Do your best. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We'll talk soon.